Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are embarking on what is honestly the epic journey of building a business in today's incredibly complex economy. Look, starting a business from scratch is, well, it's the ultimate adventure. But let's be real, it is also a total economic battlefield out there. You've got to navigate inflation, constantly changing consumer behaviors, and incredibly tight credit markets. But here's the thing, you don't have to do it alone. In fact, if you want to survive, you absolutely need the right financial ally in your corner. So today, we're going to uncover exactly why credit unions are the secret weapon for entrepreneurial success.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our structured roadmap for today. We're going to hit the engine of prosperity, navigate the economic battlefield, figure out how to avoid the cash flow trap, really unpack the credit union advantage, and then finish up with smart growth and scaling. It's a journey taking us all the way from massive macroeconomic forces right down to your daily bank account.
Section 1, the engine of prosperity, unleashing the entrepreneur. Let's frame exactly who the entrepreneur is here. It's you. You are the heroic engine of wealth creation and innovation that our economy desperately needs to move forward.
I love how economist Milton Shapiro puts this. He brilliantly points out that firms and the entrepreneurs who build them are the essential bridge. You're the intermediary. You're taking resources, labor, and capital, and you're transforming them into the goods and services that consumers urgently need. Without entrepreneurs stepping up and taking those risks, progress just literally stagnates.
But we do have to ground this high-level economic theory in some hard reality. 50%. That's essentially a coin toss, right? That is the survival rate for small businesses making it past their first 5 years. The stakes for our hero's journey are incredibly high because half of all entrepreneurs simply won't make it to year 6. To make sure you're in that winning half, you absolutely have to understand the environment you're operating in.
Which brings us to Section 2, navigating the economic battlefield, macro versus microeconomics. To survive out there, a successful founder has to master both the weather outside the ship and the engine humming away inside the ship.
In business, you're always facing two very distinct forces. On the macro side, you've got inflation rates, government policy, economic cycles, and national interest rates. And then on the micro side, you're dealing with pricing strategies, elasticity of demand, marginal costs, and consumer behavior. Now, as an entrepreneur, you can't control the macroeconomic weather. You just can't change the national inflation rate, but you must ruthlessly control your microeconomic decisions to survive those macro storms.
Let's make this concrete with a practical example of microeconomics in action, elasticity of demand. Sounds like textbook jargon, right? But imagine you're Jamie, and you run a local coffee shop. Understanding elasticity means you know exactly how your specific customers will react to price changes. By tracking your data, you know exactly when to strategically offer a coupon on a historically slow Tuesday to boost sales, rather than just throwing money away on a busy Saturday. That is microeconomics acting as your literal business survival toolkit.
Moving right along to phase 3, the cash flow trap. Profit versus cash flow. Listen, this is the abyss of the entrepreneurial journey. This is where so many incredible businesses with fantastic products just meet their end.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between profit and cash flow. Profit is a wonderful concept, but cash flow, that is the actual physical money entering and leaving your business daily. One of the biggest, most painful lessons a lot of entrepreneurs learn way too late is that a business can look incredibly profitable on paper while simultaneously running completely out of the cash needed to pay the utility bills, the rent, or the payroll.
And man, this trap gets even deadlier when those macroeconomic forces we talked about turn against you. When inflation spikes or the economy gets sluggish, customers cut back on spending, your cash reserves dwindle fast. And simultaneously, the credit markets get tighter and big commercial banks immediately increase their lending restrictions. Just when you need a financial lifeline the most, the traditional lifelines get pulled right away.
Which leads us to a massive, crucial question. How on earth do you fund a business when commercial credit markets are completely tight and traditional banks are restricting their lending? How do you actually survive the capital crunch?
Enter Section 4, the credit union advantage, your secret financial weapon. If you, the entrepreneur, are the hero of this story, the local credit union is the wise mentor and the essential financial ally you need to survive the journey.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between these two types of financial institutions. Big commercial banks are highly transactional, and their lending restrictions become incredibly rigid during a sluggish economy. Credit unions, on the other hand, are fundamentally different. They're community-focused. That means they remain highly accessible for small business lending because they don't have the same profit pressures. They generally have lower overhead costs, allowing them to offer lower interest rates and fees. And most importantly, their service approach is based on personalized mentorship, not just scanning a barcode on a transaction.
For a founder, these benefits are a complete game changer. You aren't just getting an accessible loan and favorable rates. The loan officers at a credit union often step right in to act as business strategists. They give first-time founders the personalized attention, the strategic advice, and the direct community networking referrals they so desperately need. To them, you aren't just a risk profile on a spreadsheet. You are a partner in building the local economy.
But hey, let's take a step back for a second. Even with the ultimate financial ally in your corner, personal responsibility is paramount. Before you go all in, you need a backup plan. A true entrepreneur always budgets carefully. You should strive to build 6 to 12 months of living expenses in your personal cash reserves. That way, you can continue paying your own rent and buying groceries if the business takes a little more time to hit its revenue projections. Section 5, Smart Growth and Scaling, the Lean Startup Methodology. All right, we've got our financial foundation and our banking allies secured, so we enter the final phase of the journey. How do we build this thing without going broke?
The answer is the Lean Startup Methodology. Step 1. Build a minimum viable product to validate demand. The absolute biggest mistake you can make is building a massive, expensive product before customers have actually opened their wallets and paid you to solve their problem. Step 2. Track every single dollar with incredibly tight cash flow forecasting. Step 3. Leverage affordable digital marketing and automation. And Step 4. Let your data drive your scaling. You scale purely by doing more of what mathematically works, not what you just assume will work.
And you know what? If you are building this business in a gloomy economy, you actually have a massive hidden advantage. A tough economy is an incredible opportunity to slash startup costs. You can use the sluggish market as leverage to negotiate way cheaper rent. You can buy discounted supplies and furniture from closing businesses. You can bring on amazing independent contractors before committing to full-time staff. And you can even barter services with other local business owners. While your established competitors are panicking and freezing their innovation, you're out there scooping up resources at a massive discount. As you grow, just keep this absolute truth in mind. A business fails not just because the product is bad, but because it never establishes a predictable way to attract new customers. You have to move way beyond those initial lucky sales and build a repeatable, data-driven system for acquiring customers and maintaining long-term loyalty. Consistency at the end of the day is your ultimate competitive advantage. So we've covered a ton today. We've navigated the macro and microeconomics, dodged the cash flow trap, unpacked the lean startup methodology, and learned exactly why a credit union is your absolute best financial ally. Now the future is entirely in your hands, because business success isn't really about having some perfect, flawless idea. It's about solving real problems for real people. So I'm going to leave you with this final, vital question to kickstart your journey. What painful, expensive, or frustrating problem are you going to solve today? Get out there, partner with your financial allies, and start building.